In my opinion, Memetic was the most underread comic of 2014. Memetic's story is based around the idea that a meme featuring a cheery sloth sporting a thumbs up could function as a mechanism for the apocalypse. While the book's pitch was very much tongue-in-cheek, its substance was worldly. The only people immune to the meme's mind-altering effects are people that possess characteristics that have placed them apart from quote-unquote normal society. Characteristics like deafness, blindness, mental illness, etc. Having people that were previously viewed as inferior serving as the last hope for individual human existence, while the rest of humankind is collected into an unthinking homogeneous mass, was a layered and purposeful creative choice that demonstrates how subtle changes in condition can drastically shift perceptions of strength, normalcy, and value. Memetic's creators, writer Jason Tynion IV and artist Eric Donovan, are working together to render yet another original view of how the world will end. Cognetic feels like a honing of the formula that was created with Memetic. However, this apocalyptic tale is more reserved in its pacing, more impactful with its horror, and less persistent in its orbiting of out-of-place humor. Two fishermen catch a dolphin in the Gulf of Mexico. Without much explanation, we see something mystical or possibly telekinetic pass from the animal to the fisherman. We follow the journey of this strange presence as it jumps from person to person across the country, multiplying every time it jumps. By the time it reaches New York, this unexplained villain has amassed an army of the possessed, an army which it marches to the top of the Empire State Building. It is at this point that large-scale violence and gore would enter most apocalyptic narratives. Cognetic, however, takes a more subtle approach, and in doing so, it delivers chilling and effective horror. One by one, each possessed person jumps off the tower. Anyone who enters the building trying to help is quickly assimilated and dispatched. Around the tower, an ever-expanding ring of controlled people begins to form, sucking in anyone that gets too close. At this point, you'd say it's a fair criticism to say that Cognetic and Memetic have multiple overlapping elements in concept, theme, and even in the construction of some of the story's various characters. However, this really isn't a flaw. In fact, creative teams revisiting genres and topics is common in comics. Sometimes when creative people work together, they stumble upon a certain alchemy. The combination of two individuals' perspectives allows them to assemble something that is almost a new medium or platform rather than just another story. You can see this in some other collaborations, like the one between Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. Superman for All Seasons, Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White, and so on and so forth are all pretty much just different executions of the same thesis. Take the broad and simple view the greater population has of a certain hero and tell a story that reveals the deeper snakings of that hero's various nuances. The books are not shockingly novel or even all that eventful, but Sale's soft, inviting art and Loeb's thorough grasp of what makes each hero connect with its readers makes these books feel like something apart from the rest of the industry. Something very similar is going on between Tynion and Donovan. Tynion's understanding of true horror, being rooted in the human fear of being alone, devalued, and helpless, combined with Donovan's nonchalant portrayal of violence and death, makes these collaborations feel like experiences alien to comic books at large. Like I said about the work of Loeb and Sale, these books don't hold a novel-like explosion of subversive narrative technique, and they aren't packed with glossy action. What makes the works of Tynion and Donovan so great is these guys have mastered the art of escalation. To the first panel of fishermen catching the dolphin, to the final panels atop the Empire State Building, there is almost an unnoticeable scaling up of things. The obvious example is the way the unnamed villainous entity slowly builds an army. It starts with a creepy, cryptic exchange on a bus and builds to a crescendo of death at the heart of one of the world's most iconic cities. But it's the more subtle ramping up of ideas that makes this book a clinic in pacing. The book starts with a tight perspective and moves to a global one. The horror begins to coagulate when you see people start to lose their individuality. But as the possession grows and mutates, so does the horror. We realize that real horror doesn't lie in losing ourselves, but in finding ourselves becoming the moving pieces of a machine too large in scale for us to even comprehend. Cognetic crushes readers with the realization the world doesn't have to end in blood and fire. The world can end between our ears. Our buildings don't have to fall. Our streets don't have to be blanketed with corpses. Our homes don't have to be raided and burned. All that has to happen is for someone to look into your eyes and you're gone. Transformed into a sprocket made of muscle and sinew. A creature with purpose where thought used to be. This book is a bleak and thrilling mutation of what we expect horror to be. Something like that. And this joke is repeated over and over again as a stand-in for actual humor. And I guess the book is supposed to derive a lot of comedy from the aforementioned violence mixing with